Mike Barrelak here to entertain you with the help of the police. Truth hits everybody, whoa. Truth hits everybody, whoa. Truth hits everybody, whoa. Truth hits everyone. Okay, I needed to accept the reality that I was not going to be able to cover Sting and the Police all in one video. I hope I can cover the Police in one video. But I don't want to be putting, I'm a small-time YouTuber, so I don't want to be putting videos out there that are too long. So I'd rather do it in incremented parts, roughly 15 minutes. But that particular track, Truth Hits Everybody, is from the Police's first album, Outlandos D'Amour. I don't have an original copy of that one. I have a copy that I copied from a tape that I found at the Goodwill years ago, but the tape kaput. So it's the only one in my collection that I have to guesstimate the copyright date, 78 or 79. I'm leaning towards 79 though, because the next album was from 80. But I stake no claim to being the biggest Sting and Police fan in the world. I am a lover of music, period, and Sting and the Police just happens to be one of those musical groups, people who I happen to be curious about since I was a child. I'm going to make it a point to mention this for every one of these videos. I collect CDs in the way that someone else might collect baseball cards. Baseball cards. Just to give you somewhat of an idea where I'm coming from here. The first track on Outlandos D'Amour, Next to You, I actually heard the first time in the form of a cover from the band The Offspring. I did not know at the time it was a Police song until I read the fine print in that CD. But like I said, I don't have an original CD copy. All I have is this homemade one. But I believe it is the first Sting or the first Police album because it has Roxanne on it, and that's the album, or that's the track that kind of put them on the map, so to speak. Even though, at risk of pissing off hardcore Police fans, Roxanne was never one of my favorite songs from the band. There's like a million other tracks I would rather hear. And since it isn't a professionally manufactured CD, it will not be counting in the tally of the 7,777 CD collection. I do this, I'm also not going to count duplicates. I'm only going to count duplicates once. I do this in the interest of fair play and to display my confidence that I'll reach the 7,777 mark without resorting to counting those CDs. But on a final note, on the Outlandos D'Amour Police album, there's a song in there called Be My Girl, Sally. A song that was written in great affection for what I'm sure at the time was a state-of-the-art love doll. So next would be 1980s Zenyatta Mondatta, which I do have on CD. It's got Don't Stand So Close to Me. I heard the 86 remix of that track first when I was a kid, so I kind of became partial to that. Although over the years I've kind of grown to love both versions of the song. It does feature the track Canary in a Coal Mine, which now pops in my head whenever I see that movie The Arrival. I acquired the next one, 1981's Ghost in the Machine, on a cassette when I was a kid at a thrift shop, a local thrift shop, for probably 10 cents, and transferred it onto CD, so I do have that on a homemade CD. But Whether or not the Ghost in the Machine is affiliated with the Holy Ghost is anybody's guess. I don't have a whole lot of vinyl, but I do have Ghost in the Machine on vinyl. I also have it, so it will be counted in the final tally, because I also have a professionally manufactured copy of it on CD. Which I just realized just now, it's the 25th anniversary, and I only paid $5 for it. I mean, I would have banned it like a bandit with this. Geez, already over 5 minutes long. Well, this is Sting and the Police are one of the mother loads of CD clusters in my collection. Speaking of mother, I have Synchronicity on a homemade CD as well, because I had acquired this cassette when I was a kid. My mom would buy cassettes from the Columbia House, and she let me pick a few, and that's how I acquired Synchronicity, Dream of the Blue Tail, and 10 Summer's Tale, if I remember correctly, on cassette. And that is another one that I do have on, will count in the tally, because I do have it on CD as well as vinyl. A little side story here. When I was going to college, I had a tape deck in my 62 Chevy, and even though I could hook up a CD player to it, for convenience sake, I would just play tapes. So when on route to and from school, I was really able to explore both Synchronicity and Ghost in the Machine. Synchronicity 2 always sounded a little bit like the Puppet Master theme music. Just a little, just a smidge. that horror movie. And Walking in Your Footsteps. I always thought it was interesting, because he says, "Hey there," in that song. He says, "Hey there, mighty Brontosaurus." And the first time I saw the movie Jurassic Park, I kept asking myself, why is this kid calling a brontosaurus a brachiosaurus? I know in the Land Before Times really don't count. They called them long necks. That was just for kids, but I don't know why. It's like a lot of kids do better with dinosaur names, technical names, than adults do. But all right, back to Sting and the Police. Sorry. When I was growing up, I had this one, the Police, the Every Breath You Take, the singles, on a cassette. But then I acquired this and considered it obsolete, and gave it to a friend of mine's mother, who at the time was the only person I knew who was interested in it and still played cassette tapes. And then years later, I reacquired it through the Goodwill on CD. That'll be a total of 5 discs. And 6 if I ever get Outlandos D'Amour on a manufacturer CD. And just a few more notes on Sting and the Police, pertaining specifically to the period of time with the Police and the time just before Sting's solo career started, which will probably start the next video. But I always, growing up, as much as I love the song "Money for Nothing," it always slips my mind that Sting sings in that song. I'm not surely exactly why, but when I was researching this, I think I might have figured out why. Because most of my life, although I do have it on vinyl, the Money for Nothing, Dire Straits, I think the reason why is most of my life I've only heard the video and radio edit mostly. And Sting singing on that track, Money for Nothing, is more emphasized in the extended version at the very beginning and the very end of the song. So I think that's why it always escaped my mind that Sting sang in it. And he also sang "The Long, Long Way to Go" with the only thing that could be considered a duet with Phil Collins from No Jackets Required. But I already made a video about that, so. I didn't have access to MTV till the 90s. However, I do have vague memories of, God, I wasn't even in school yet, so it was probably 4. I do have vague memories of the whole I want the seeing the band I knew as the Police because my ma liked the song "Wrapped Around Your Finger," and I've always remembered that video with the candles and everything. And I do have a vague memory of seeing the Police promoting "I want my MTV," and so I always associated MTV with the music group The Police, even though I really didn't get to know MTV till the '90s personally. But years later, I would figure out why that is in a documentary I saw about it, about how the whole "I want my MTV" was kind of a push to convince people that their rights were somehow being violated if they didn't have MTV. Of course, that's before it turned into what it is today. I don't know what it is today, but it sure as heck doesn't have anything to do with music. And that brings me to Police Confidentially, a book I acquired. There was a used bookstore where I grew up that we used to ride our bikes to, and I bought a lot of songbooks from there. This, to my disappointment at the time, was not a songbook, but it was still pretty cool. You know, just pictures from the concert and everything. I don't want to share too much of that because it's probably copyrighted stuff. I just wanted to share one photograph in here that did always kind of stand out for me as interesting. It's basically a picture of Sting and his dog, and behind Sting there's a couple of girls, and the caption reads, "After this shot was taken, those girls behind me started making a fuss over Willie my dog. What they were really doing was finding out my address from his IT tag. I had to move house." Quote. So, there's another picture here. A couple of pictures of him and Trudy. Damn, Sting and Trudy, they've been together forever. As far as I know, I think they're still together. I don't follow these people's personal lives, but but I always thought that was a pretty cool picture. Show it real quick. Yeah, he's standing there with his dog, and it says the girl's behind him in the picture. Stole his address off the dog's tag, pretending to make a fuss over the dog. Which goes to show, people have to be careful about their privacy. Especially if you have the health and welfare of a family to worry about. Part of the reason why I remember that bookstore is because it used to be a shopping mall, or a shopping department store, and I just thought, even back then, this has been back in the '90s, but I just thought it was so cool that there was a frickin' department store that closed down and it was turned into a big old secondhand bookstore. I thought that was just the coolest thing. So throughout this series, I intend to do what I'm going to call Fun With such and such song titles. Like I did with Huey Lewis and the News. I intend to do the same with Sting and the Police. I got a whole thing going on. I'm just going to give you a little taste of what I got so far. This may change by the time I get it all together, but if you choose to be the king of pain, I will kindly thank you to don't stand so close to me, because I don't want to be in your vicinity when bombs away, bombs away. And when you listen to some people talk long enough, you start to go do, da, da, da in your own head. Because the truth hits everybody. And the truth is something that many people don't do well with. And just a personal note, when one reaches a point in their life where they no longer pedestrialize the female of the species, it becomes impossible to believe that every little thing she does is magic. Unless it's bear your children. That's like the only exception. Otherwise, why would you pedestrialize any female? Just a few more notes pertaining to the Police. I can't. This won't count as part of the tally because it's a homemade disc that I copied from somebody of the Police live in Boston. But I wanted to make note, the Police and Sting, they've always been one of those musical genres. They've always been in a musical genre that is kind of hard to label. They call it reggae rock or what, but it's really hard to label some artists, and I think that definitely pertains to Sting and the Police. But this concert I thought was kind of cool because they do a little cover of the song "Deo" by that Belafonte guy, Harry Belafonte, in the middle of the song "Can't Stand Losing You." And then they also do a cover of "Tequila" between the tracks Peanuts and Roxanne. Alright, so that's over 15 minutes. So I want to keep each video about that. So this will be considered video part 1 of my 7,777 CD collection featuring Sting and the Police. This will be video part 1. I'll give you a little preview of part 2, which will probably cover Sting's solo early work, basically the late 80s, early 90s. Here's a little preview. Mike Bearlack, thank you for your time.